Dear bankers, listen to this week's news from the field of banking and economics. Digital payments in India crossed 20 billion transaction mark in the second quarter, led by the phenomenal growth in UPI. IDBI Bank has initiated its divestment process, where the government and the LIC have decided to sell 60.72% of the total share in the bank. Previously, the government and LIC held 30.48% and 30.24% shares respectively. The department will invite this expression of interest by the 15th of October 2022. The government has announced a credit guarantee scheme for startups, CGSS, aimed at improving the availability of collateral-free loans to startups at a time early-stage companies are finding it hard to raise funds. The credit guarantee under the scheme would be transaction-based, with a maximum cover of 10 crore per individual case, or the actual outstanding credit amount, whichever is less. The total number of credit and debit cards in circulation in India has hit 1 billion by end of Q2 2022. While the number of credit cards increased by 25% from 62.81 million in June 2021 to 78.7 million in June 2022, debit cards increased by 2% from 906 million to 921.75 million during the same period, according to the Worldline report on digital payments. Reserve Bank of India Governor Shaktikanta Das on Thursday launched a new subtech initiative, Daksh, Reserve Bank's advanced supervisory monitoring system, to make the supervisory processes more robust. RBI has said it would soon run a limited trial of the e-rupee, a digital currency backed by the central bank, for specific use cases. RBI is considering implementing an account-based central bank digital currency (CBDC) for the wholesale segment and token-based currency for the retail sector, it said in a concept paper released on Friday. The International Monetary Fund will next week downgrade its forecast for 2.9% global growth in 2023, Managing Director Kristalina Georgieva said on Thursday, citing rising risk of recession and financial instability. Industry body PHTCCI has urged the Finance Ministry to take measures like compulsory suspension of bank draws for a few days to make the check issuers accountable for their action in check bouncing cases. In a report released ahead of the annual meeting of the International Monetary Fund (IMF) and the World Bank, the IMF said the current coincidence of rising inflation and nominal wage growth has led to concerns that a wage price spiral, in which both wages and prices accelerate for a prolonged period, could emerge. India's central bank (RBI) has directed all credit information companies to appoint internal ombudsman at the top of their internal grievance redress mechanism by April 1 of next year. The Reserve Bank of India on Friday said that it is considering new provisioning guidelines for banks, which will require lenders to provide for loans on the basis of an expected credit loss approach, against the current incurred loss approach. The RBI will soon issue a discussion paper on proposed norms on various aspects of transitioning to the new system. Over 50 million senior citizens above 70 years of age and an equally large number of differently abled persons could soon expect to get basic banking services in the convenience of their homes. The Department of Financial Services, DFS, in the Finance Ministry proposes to notify a new guide for bankers soon, which will make the doorstep provision of banking services mandatory. The Punjab and Haryana High Court recently held that a lookout circular could not be requested by Indian banks to recover the dues owed to their foreign sister concerns. The Karnataka High Court has said that the Central Bureau of Investigation (CBI) can investigate the complaint registered by a bank against a company and its directors, alleging offences of cheating and criminal conspiracy, even after initiation of proceedings under the SARFAESI Act and possession of the recovery certificate. RBI has approved the appointment of Mr. Prashant Kumar as the Chief Executive Officer and Managing Director of Yes Bank for 3 years. His appointment has come into effect from October 6, as per the latest exchange filing by Yes Bank. India's manufacturing activities eased a tad in September, but the sector showed signs of strength, with firms stepping up production in tandem with a sustained increase in new work intakes. According to CRISIL ratings, the corporate credit ratio, upgrades versus downgrades, continues to be high at 5.52 times in the first half of this fiscal, H1 FY23, underscoring ongoing broad-based improvement in India Incorporated's credit quality. Buoyant food prices may drive India's retail inflation to 7.3% year-on-year in September, 30 basis points higher than that in August, according to a forecast released by Barclays. The World Bank has projected a growth rate of 6.5% for the Indian economy for the fiscal year 2022-23, a drop of 1.0% from its previous June 2022 projections, citing the deteriorating international environment. In this week's Finspiration, read about investing in US equity while sitting in India. In this week's cover story, Mr. NPS Sohal contends that to generate many millions of new jobs, overcome poverty and address multiple issues which India is having at hand will require it to raise FDI to $100 per capita at least. In this week's article, Mr. Shahid Kabir, a faculty from Union Bank of India, is telling us about value chain financing in agriculture. In this week's quiz, test your knowledge of foreign exchange in a quiz designed by Mr. N.K. Jayaraman. In this week's banking classroom, Mr. N.P.S. Suhal is telling us about letters of credit. What are the general considerations of letters of credit? Who are the parties to a letter of credit? And what are the types of letters of credit? Thank you for listening to this week's issue of Bankers Weekly. We bring banking knowledge to you week after week just for 5 rupees per week. So don't forget to subscribe to Bankers Weekly by visiting our website www.bankersweekly.com or by clicking on the link given below.